Let's talk some tech, Renita Young. We do have some interesting stories out as far as how foreigners are dealing with big tech right now, and the EU continues to be kind of the leader of the watchdog list, describing some of these big companies as gatekeepers, and with that is going to come some scrutiny.
Yes, and by gatekeepers, they mean companies that are restricting access to their core services from the rest of the world, right? Unless you're actually on those platforms. And that's got a few of the names under pressure this morning. We're talking Alphabet's Google, we're talking Apple, we're talking Meta and Microsoft. Now, for years, this company says that smaller companies, or the restriction, the EU has said that smaller companies have felt iced out of the competition. They felt like these larger companies have hurt them, and they want to open up access. They want some of the apps, for instance, to be able to communicate better, like iMessage and WhatsApp. And so this investigation, it opens up also 5 new investigations for Microsoft and Apple because the EU believes that some of their platforms are actually anti-competitive or could be anti-competitive as well. We're looking at Microsoft's Bing, its Edge, and then its ad platforms. It does claim that Apple's iMessage meets the bar to be considered a gatekeeper because, like I said before, they want WhatsApp, for instance, to be able to send messages to iMessage. So it's a really interesting story today.
Can we all just get along? Message
no,
each other?
No, apparently not. You know why? Because they're concerned about security. And that's the main pushback from Apple. They say that this restriction or lifting these controls that keep iMessage from talking to WhatsApp could restrict or could actually limit the security of the company.
Interesting. EU is definitely the leader on this front. Seems like they're pretty creative in a way. You know, the gatekeeper description, the way they continue to apply pressure. Generally in the past, markets have always been able to shrug these things off and understand and prioritize the earnings of these companies, but we are at this juncture where some of these names have had a rough past 2 years. They sold off real hard. They're trying to come back. Some of them successfully have, like Apple, like Microsoft. But then on the other hand, some of them still been under pressure, like an Amazon. You got Alphabet too, which hasn't put in the new highs. So any kind of new information here. And then in China too, putting pressure on Apple by saying their employees shouldn't be using the phones in the office.
Yes, but for clarity, for years they've restricted access to the iPhones for some government officials. And this widens what they've already done, but it also shows that they're clamping down on their rules and they want people to strictly follow the strict rules right now. And if it sounds familiar, it's because the U.S. has done something similar with TikTok and its government officials. You know, with ByteDance's TikTok, it's owned by the Chinese company there. But as this is just another stepped up effort, I believe, in the tech war that's happening between the United States and China. And both countries are overly concerned about data leaks. You know, they don't want the flow of sensitive information to get outside of the countries.
It's really a situation that seems like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
The kind of tit for tat. Oh, we're going to restrict this, so then China's going to restrict that. That's where the EU thing, where in the past it kind of gets shrugged off, even when some of those big fines have come from the EU, the market has generally digested it, moved on. But considering that the U.S. and China are already embroiled in this like month-by-month battle to continue to push each other's products out, I feel like eventually that's going to have to limit to some degree the upside potential of where these products can go. So to your point, kind of already something like this existed, but escalating it more.
You're right. It's to limit those, and that could be the effect. It could severely limit the ability to have more sales. Apple sales, China is one of their largest customers. They've got about 19% of total revenue that comes from China, but the companies, they want to also not be so reliant on other countries.
Totally. All right. Well, we'll see if it keeps the shares under some pressure, but definitely an interesting story. Thanks for the update, Renita. Good stuff here. Tech in focus, and the U.S.-China battle to keep each respective technology out of their country. It's a little discomforting.